Hey folks, welcome back once again. Well, we finished our textbook. Are you all professional graphic designers yet, or what? Um, we're going to switch things up a little bit for the rest of the semester because we've been reading a half a chapter and doing an assignment and kind of learning the skills that way. Now that we're done with the book, there are a few other things that we need to cover. I want to talk about software, design software, computers, some hardware stuff, Mac versus PC, all that, all the commercials that you see, and then preparing files for print, getting them ready to go to press, and then it's just some things about printing that it's very helpful to know because there's always, um, a designer and a printer are two, totally different professions, but it really makes it a lot easier on everybody if the designer knows how to make a file so it's easy for the printer, and that way it's easier for the printer to create accurate results, that makes the designer happy, that makes the client happy, that gets you paid. And that's what it's all about. So that's a long story short right there. I'm going to see how much we can get through today. My goal is to cover software today and a little bit of hardware. But what I might do is, get started with software and hardware and then finish up next week. So we'll just kind of see how things progress, okay? I'm still going to try and keep it to about a 20-minute lecture for each week. And the way, assignment-wise, we're not going to have weekly assignments anymore. And this is why. You need to take notes on the lectures, and I'm going to provide some resources, some tutorial videos, and some websites, some informational websites. And you need to look through those and take a few notes. And you need to know this, the material that we cover. And on the last week, we're going to have a test. It's sort of like a final exam, just over the things that we're going to cover in the next 3 weeks: the software, hardware, pre-press, and then production. So, if you have any questions about that, let me know. But it should be, so you're kind of, off the hook for the next couple weeks, but you need to pay attention and take notes, and, you'll have to look through it. And, if you take good notes off the lecture and, the websites that I give you, it'll be pretty easy to, to do good on the test at the end. I won't try and throw too many curveballs at you. So, let's get this party started. What do you say? Let's see. First of all, the famous Mac versus PC war. Two main types of computers. You should know this. PCs and Macs. They have those witty commercials that they play all the freaking time. I'm a Mac and I'm a PC and all that. There's, a lot of people feel very strongly about one or the other. I myself am a Mac man, always have been, always will be, for a couple reasons. And generally for graphic design, Macs are the way to go. They are more expensive than PCs. And PCs are fine for if you want to do just, run-of-the-mill, Word documents and Excel spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff. But if you're doing graphics-intensive stuff, creating these huge Photoshop files or, creating a book, like a 100-page book in InDesign, with all this different stuff, with all these files, and, you can even have interactive stuff in it, flash videos. And if you're creating all this, then you need a really solid processor. You need, graphics cards, a lot of RAM, all this kind of stuff. And you can, you can soup up a PC so you can do graphic design on it, but Macs pretty much come ready to go out of the box. It's got all this stuff built in, and they've been doing it for years. I'm not getting paid by Apple. I wish I was for, speaking, excuse me, for speaking good about their products, but they really are just far superior for graphic design. They are more expensive because they're made in America. A lot of PCs are, shipped off overseas, all that kind of stuff. Macs are made in America for the most part. And they're quality materials. So, and they last for a good long time. Anyway, so Macs are pretty much the de facto go-to computer for graphic designers. And, a lot of people are kind of anxious about moving to a Mac if they've been using a PC their whole life, and that's understandable. What I always tell my classes is Macs are really more intuitive. The interface, the way it's more user friendly. Like if the way you would expect something to work, it works that way. But now, if you're used to using a PC is not always that way. If you expect something to work a certain way, it doesn't. So you've kind of trained yourself over the years to be irrational, I guess, with the way your computer works. And if you can forget all of that and throw that out of the window, then and go back to intuition and logic and this is the way this should be, then chances are it probably is that way as far as the interface. So it's pretty easy to get used to using a Mac. All right, a few things before we get started on the software. File extensions are very important, and every software program has some kind of file extension for their files. Well, not every, most. You've probably seen on a Word document, DOC is the file extension, and that's just the dot and then the letters at the end of that. Some of you may know this already, but this is for the true beginners who don't really have a lot of computer experience. I'm just going to go over this real quick. So a Word file to be .doc, that's the file extension, or .docx for the new Microsoft Word. What else? Excel, I think, is XLS as the file extension. Well, these programs all have file extensions as well. And the ones we're going to be talking about are all Adobe programs for the most part, because that really is the standard. Whatever kind of job you're going to try and get in the future, you're going to need to know these Adobe programs. If you know others as well, that's a plus, but you definitely need to know these are the basics. And they pretty much, you can do everything you want to do graphic design wise with these programs. The Adobe Creative Suite, which consists of Photoshop for image editing, usually photograph editing. You got Adobe Illustrator for creating logos and illustrations. You have InDesign for doing large desktop publishing for posters, multi-page things, brochures and books and whatnot. And then web design, the main ones are Dreamweaver and Flash, and there's a whole bunch of different web design programs. We'll talk about that a little bit. And then Adobe Acrobat, which creates PDFs. But anyway, the point of this is these all have kind of their own native file extensions, and you need to be aware of it so you know what kind of file it is, what program to use it in. Photoshop can open up a lot of different file extensions. JPEG, PNG, TIFF, EPS, PSD, PDF, and then Photoshop can also open up, other files, Illustrator files and InDesign files and all that. Illustrator, AI, and EPS are their native files. They can open up PNGs and other stuff as well. InDesign, I think INDD is the native file format for that, and that's maybe I should just start talking about the individual programs, I guess. But InDesign, you can't open an InDesign file unless you have the InDesign program. So if you're creating something for a client, chances are they don't have that. So that's where PDFs come in handy. PDFs are kind of the universal document format that everybody can open. And InDesign usually creates PDFs from that. And that's another file extension. It stands for Portable Document Format. So anyway, I digress.